right. Nearly a year ago, the Duke fell ill. The sickness has robbed him of strength until he could no longer leave his bed. The only cure was but a myth, an herb from faraway Kozakura, a land far to the east and a lengthy, dangerous journey by sea. The saberfish departed Neverwinter on this journey months ago, making the voyage in record time. After negotiations with a group of warrior priests, they agreed to allow their herb to be given to cure the Duke, but only if one of their number accompanied the gift to ensure it was used properly. The return voyage was going easily until an unexpected storm seemed to chase the saberfish until she was tossed around like a toy in a driving rain and towering waves. And that was when the alarm was sounded. The vessel was under attack. So.
Well, I guess I'll wake up.
Yes.
I'm awake.
Our paladin here
Yes.
is using the Chevalier kit from the Complete Paladin's Handbook, which indicates he's part of a knightly order and has authority and responsibility to the lord to which he is pledged. The paladin is the leader of this expedition, charged with bringing home this cure for his liege lord. The two of you were also assigned to this duty to try to save the Duke. Let's see, the cleric? Cleric, yes.
Cleric.
So, your order from a tribe of elves that are friendly to the Duke have tried everything they know, and all they could do was buy him time. It was ancient elven lore brought from this faraway land that led you in this direction. So you were chosen to accompany the party to try to figure out where to find this herb. And you have done so. Now all that remains is getting it back. You were assigned to the party to provide assistance against whatever might try to impede the party from their duties.
Of course.
Since we do not have a player for the monk...
Oh, you messed the camera.
Oh, crap.
You done messed the camera. Ooh.
There we go.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Since we do not have a player for the monk will be an NPC.
Are you sure? We don't need him.
Are you sure?
We're not going to be playing these characters after tonight.
Okay,
We could
that's
all
true.
die, which would be fine.
All right. So, Wu is tragically killed in the attack on the ship.
He's thrown overboard!
However, he manages to crawl to your berth and give you the herb.
Oh, lovely. I have the herb now.
All right. I'm Rackham.
Rackham.
Tam of Neverwinter.
Tam.
Right. I'm Zebula.
Zebula.
It sounds like a girl's name, but it's not.
Plainly,
That's
we've drawn the
it's an
finest
elf.
people.
It's an elf name. It's a male elf
All
name.
right, you're one of the males
Right.
in there.
Zebula.
All right.
And, come to think of it, there were probably a few more in your party who have already met their end as these creatures, whatever they are attacking above decks.
Well, I run upstairs.
Right. I'm ahead above decks.
I get my sword and I run upstairs without my armor on, of course.
Oh, well, there goes my drafts partner. I'd just get up.
All right.
Because I've got a knife.
All right, heading above decks, the deck is pitching under your feet as the ship rolls side to side. To people who are not quite used to long-distance ocean travel, it feels like the ship is just going to capsize at any moment.
Well, I'm going to run over, I'm going to grab myself some rope. And I'm going to tie a rope around myself, and I'm going to tie that rope to some part of the ship, I don't know, like
What?
some pole, the central mast. I'm going to
Sure.
tie
What he
the
said.
rope to the central mast.
All right,
That's what I'm doing for the, I don't know, remember that, 3 rounds? 2 rounds? I don't know.
so looking around to get your bearings and what is going on the ship,
Sure.
you can see the crew has armed themselves with their traditional cutlasses or even belaying pins if they had nothing on them as the attack happened. It was the dead of night, and only those few watchstanders that normally ran the ship. Yes?
I'm not tying myself off.
Okay.
I'm not.
Well, you quick on your feet or something?
Better than that. I reach into one of my many tiny pockets that line my working coat, and pull out a hawk's feather, which I then snap, and then
Ooh.
leap into the air.
Nice.
Right. He's a show off.
I assume a position about 200 feet or so above the ship, just as quick as I can.
Excellent.
I want to see what's going on.
All right. At the stern of the ship, the invaders are moving quickly. Most of the sailors have their backs to you when you come up the gangway from below. And it's hard to make out exactly what these things are that are attacking until a brilliant flash of lightning reveals them to be scaled creatures, at least a head taller than most men. They are climbing up the side of the ship with the help of natural claws, and they have spears over their backs that they draw when they reach the deck. The sailors seem to be getting the worst end of this battle, and Captain Salantir and her first mate are back to back near the aftermast, holding these things off with their swords. So, you're tying yourself off. What are you doing?
I'm trusting in my natural elven grace to keep me from falling off.
All right. So, we are going to use the alternate initiative system in 2nd edition, where each team rolls a single die, but the individual members of that team modify that number by what they're attacking with, what spell they're casting, etc.
Rad.
So there's only one die roll for the good guys, one die roll for the bad guys, but everyone's initiative varies depending on what they're using.
Right.
For those of you who are engaged in melee combat, that will be the number rolled plus the weapon speed of your weapon. For those of you who are casting, it would be plus the casting time of the spell. And if there are any other situational modifiers that come up, we will modify that way. So, let's see here.
Isn't a longsword speed 5?
I believe so. So you're attacking with your longsword or drawing your longsword?
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't. I don't need to draw it. Yeah, I guess I draw it after I talk.
Longsword is speed 5.
Yeah. See how good my memory is?
All right.
Okay, well, I'm going to roll initiative. That'd be a 4. Do I get to add my dexterity adjustment?
You would subtract your dex adjustment. Remember, the low roll goes first.
Oh, nice.
So a 4 for your team, modified by what you're doing. Interesting. Okay.
I'm no jongleur.
Jongleur. I am no chevalier.
Ouais, vraiment.
All right. So.
Wait! I am a chevalier.
Indeed
Wow.
you are.
Yeah.
So,
Vraiment.
5 or less. Anyone?
Yeah, that's us.
Well, right, but modified by your weapons and spells.
Oh, no, I'm a solid 8 with fly.
Okay. So,
Well, I go with
6
10.
to 10. So you go on 10, you go on 8.
Yeah.
And how are you? Nope.
I was looking at the book at the other thing. I am going to, let's see, I'm going to cast Barkskin on myself, and I believe that is 5.
You are not a druid.
All right.
It's on my spell list as clerics.
Interesting.
What the hell kind of cleric are you?
I don't know. It's Barkskin.
It's an elven cleric.
You're an elven cleric?
Yeah, that's right.
Does that mean you get some kind of access to the druid level?
Zebula.
Where's that in the in one of these there things?
That would be in the player's handbook. The
it's in the
priest
second edition?
spells are in the 2nd edition player's
I
handbook.
don't think you can cast barks again.
When a priest casts, so it's listed as a priest spell. So that's casting time 5.
Okay.
Right.
So he goes the same time I do.
Yes.
I touch myself the same time the fight of this.
All right. The creatures that are attacking the crew, one of them slips on the wet deck and falls, not doing anything useful. The rest of them are clashing swords. A sailor falls, and one of them skewers the first mate with a spear. He looks like he is not long for this world. That brings us to 8.
All right. I'm going to ensure my ability to remain a viable fire support platform. I reach into one of my other many pockets and pull out half a surprisingly fresh lemon, which I then proceed to squeeze into my eyes. So I figure that as the pain recedes and I recede, then everyone else's ability to see me will recede as well. So I cast invisibility.
You are now an invisible flying creature.
And yeah, that's a time of 2, so I'll take that into account next round.
Yes.
Right, now it's really just showing off.
All right. Now, the 2 of you act on the same initiative, so what would you like to do?
I run up and I attack one of them there scurvy dogs.
All right.
I hit, I'm sure. Longbow does 1d10?
Yes.
Or is it 1d8? I don't got no
Longbow.
data. I mean,
bow.
not
I
longbow.
was about to say,
Long sword.
Long sword. Against these things, a long sword will score a d8 damage.
Okay, d8, here it comes. That's 7 plus 1, 8. I do 8 damage to
All
one
right.
of them there. Slimy fish head,
Got it.
weirdo, scale covered.
Roly-poly fish
lop-eared-
heads.
What?
Is that
Indeed.
is
What?
that one still standing that he hit?
It's still standing, but not well.
I would like to move up and swing my flail at it.
Flail!
Flail away. There's you got the
Oh,
blue
there it
ones.
is.
Ooh,
20.
he done smacked him hard right in the square in his forehead.
Critical hit.
That dude's dead.
Don't even bother. Yeah, you cave its skull in and it drops.
I
All
look
right.
at the paladin and go, show you how it's done.
All right.
There.
The skipper. She hits one. The first officer manages to crit, even though he's on his last legs. So 2 more of these invaders go
How
down.
many are left?
There are 8 of them
Oh,
left.
we got it. Yeah.
The captain sees sees 2 of you coming up from below.
I've also have the herb clutched in my other hand, by the way. Going,
Getting it
don't
wet.
let go. It's good for it.
She grabs the halfling first mate by his collar and starts dragging him over towards the 2 of you.
Okay.
And next round,
I roll a 7.
bad guys roll an 8. You guys might have the drop.
I run over and I will lay on hands that poor suffering halfling.
Nice.
All right. The first mate's wounds start to knit closed. It's enough to get him back on his feet.
I tell him, stay out of battle. We got this covered.
He nods and says, "Thank you, I will." He disappears down one of the hatches to almost immediately stick his head back up and say, Skipper, we're taking an alarming amount of water." The captain looks at the 3 of you, or 2 of you, sorry, because you're invisible.
Right.
We're just assuming that he fell off at some point. At this point.
And she
chicken shit and
points-
still downstairs.
She points her sword and says, "Do you think you can handle a longboat?"
Well, yeah. Looks pretty simple to me. Just row, right?
She says, "Something like that. Where's the mage?"
Hey, Tim! Tim, where the hell are you?
Yeah, shut up. I'm busy.
He's invisible.
He does that a lot.
Yeah.
She looks at the 2 of you and says,
He's showing off.
and says, "Do you have the item?"
Is that this there herb?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's wet.
Yeah, I did.
She says, "Get home, save the Duke. We'll buy you time."
Okay.
Going down with
Okay.
the ship, I like it.
That means we're getting on the longboat.
Yes.
I'm able to see and hear all of this, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
All
we
right.
start. We got to run over to one of them longboats and
lower
get it
down.
off the top of the, pick it up and lift it over the gun wall and suspend it over the boat while it's rocking back and forth.
Right.
And then we got to get over to the winch and we got to unleash the rope and then we got to
What if
let
we
the
just,
rope down.
What if
and
I just cut it and jump in it as it goes down?
You could do that.
cut that out!
I'd like to do that, please.
It'll land in upside down.
Toss me a d20.
See if I get another 20. I mean, you know,
It-
4.
It's a 4. Well, that's good when you're making an ability
Oh,
check.
good, right.
Remember, when you're making an ability check, you're
Well,
rolling
that's
for
good.
equal to or less
That's
than
good.
your ability. And while this was not entirely wise, it worked
My-
out in your favor.
My elfin grace helped me.
Between the wave coming towards the ship and the ship rolling at an awkward angle, the boat almost drops a foot or 2 to the water
Yeah.
because the ship is rolling. So the 2 of you are able to board. The
Well,
captain.
I'm not able to board yet.
Oh, not yet.
I gotta go.
that's
I gotta
right.
go untie myself from the mast.
That's right.
So I run over to the mast
Just
to grab
cut it.
hold of the mast. No, I want to bring the rope with
No.
me. And I undo. I got to run downstairs too. I run downstairs I gather up my. Do I have any armor?
You do.
I gather up my armor and I guess I'll just keep my longsword.
Sure.
And
halfway down, the halfling first officer meets you with an armload of your gear.
I grab it from him
Is
and
that
I
mine-
jump into
is
the
that mine
boat.
too?
Yeah, he cleaned out the things in your cabin.
Excellent.
Okay.
I travel light.
All right. I pat him on the head.
That's
I
so
say
insulting to
it
little
sucks to
people.
be you, and then I get in the boat.
He pulls out an interesting looking dagger that you're pretty sure he bought while you were in Kozakura.
Yeah.
And says, "Good luck to you. Hopefully we'll see you back in Neverwinter."
I think you're going down with the ship and you're going to drown. So I run over.
It's a really encouraging paladin.
I run over to this side and I look back at all these people fighting all these fish creatures, and I guess I just with the rope still around my waist but kind of rolled up, and I'm carrying it. I climb down or I jump down or whatever into the life raft.
As soon as he hits, I'll just begin to row.
Now we
All
don't know
right.
where we're rowing to. We're just rowing out in
Just
the middle
getting
of nowhere.
getting away from the fish.
Row into the wave.
So I guess that handles their ticks.
Yes, what are you doing?
Okay, 2 questions. First one is, is there only one like point of ingress on the ship by the fishmen?
They're climbing
up
up
the
the stern.
the
Yeah,
stern?
they're scaling the stern.
Okay, are they primarily on the side, or I mean, is there like a thin wall of sailors holding them back? At
More
this
or
point?
less, yes. And
Okay.
that line is getting thinner and thinner.
Okay, I shout down, "Hey, you're all very nice to me, so let me do you a favor!" And I reach in from one pocket and another pocket, kept separate so they never mix. And I pull out a tiny bit of bat shit and sulfur, cram them together into a little ball while chanting several phrases backwards. And then I drop. I drop the little ball. And when it hits right at the back of the ship, where all the fishmen are, where the most of the fishmen are, Fiat looks.
Alrighty then.
And I drop a fireball on them.
Yeah, don't bother to roll, but how many dice does your fireball do?
5d6.
Whoa.
Ooh. Alright.
Let's just go back to the ship. It seems fine now.
Yeah.
It's just on fire.
It smells like a Long John Silver's for a moment.
Yeah.
So, many of the fishmen are basically fried where they hang.
Is
And
that
some
when
of
they
them-
stand there, turn into carbon, and then just crumble?
Right.
With their eyeballs still there?
Yeah.
See, I was just thinking that he just cooked for everybody.
Yeah.
Fish.
Maybe.
So,
Rock and roll.
yeah, there are a few lingering flames on the stern of the saberfish, but it looks like the reinforcements aren't coming, so what's on deck is on deck.
Okay.
So, the rain is continuing to fall, which probably helps the ship out a lot, given that you fireballed it. The waves, however, are washing you guys further and further from the ship.
Why the hell did we get on this long boat?
I
Where are we going on
believe
this
they
long?
were
'Cause
all
you didn't
fish
wanna get
creatures
ate by
that we
scaly
were running
fishmen.
From all did. Yeah.
We were going to kill them all.
I think we could have handled it, but she was trying to be heroic and go down with the ship and stuff, you know. How I do it.
I still got my lance.
All right.
For when you mount the ship. Right.
Yes?
All right. Since I guess can I go?
Yes, you can go. What would
Yeah,
you
man,
like
we're
to
just
do?
Outstanding.
rolling, man.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to invert myself 180 degrees and dive as fast as I can for the closest way inside the boat.
The boat or the ship?
Sorry, the ship.
The ship.
Yes, inside the ship.
You're going inside the ship.
I am in fact going inside the ship.
Very interesting. Well, it looks like the fastest way inside the ship would be through some of the windows on the stern castle that the fishmen have busted out.
Nice. I zoom right in.
You zoom right in and find 3 of the fishmen rifling through everything in the captain's cabin. The charts are on the floor. The navigation equipment is scattered across the deck. They are digging through looking for something.
Okay.
You're still... Wait. You cast a fireball.
I cast a fireball last turn.
Then you are no longer invisible.
Right.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Maybe you better zoom out.
Welcome aboard the Saberfish, Captain Marvel.
Gosh darn it. Okay, since I'm definitely not ready to take these guys in a fight, I'm going to go ahead and blow the spell that I was going to anyway until they got in my flipping way, which is web.
Ah.
I was going to cast it on the breach in the hull,
Interesting.
but instead I'm going to waste it on these fools. So,
All right.
with a bit of frustration and much cursing spoken in the arcane phrases, I glue them to the inside of the ship.
All right. They are now webbed in place. Looking past them and out the door,
Right.
you can see that the bow is now, the main deck is now awash.
Right.
The ship is taking a lot of water.
Well, I can't drown them because they're scaly fishmen, and I don't have time to cut their throats, which they deserve. So I'm just going to zoom right back out and join my friends on the boat.
All right. From the distance as you're rowing away, you see the saberfish go down by the head. You see the fishmen jumping off. You see the sailors trying to untangle the other longboat.
Is there a way that I can help with that?
How would you like to do that?
Just cut it off, let it fall in the water. Or it's all
No,
good.
simple. I'll zoom right up. I'll say, you guys are still nice to me, and wiggle my fingers like this while all the knots untie.
Oh, very cool.
Because
Rope trick.
I cast cantrip,
Ah.
specifically the untie variation.
All right. So you manage to get their boat untied, and the survivors pile aboard, and their boat starts to set out until another monster wave dashes the ship on a rock you didn't even know was there.
The ship, not their boat.
Right. Their boat starts to pull away from the rock to the north.
Give me
You
a
look,
rope!
and your allies are rowing away to the south.
Give me a rope! Hang on!
All right. I need you to make a dex save.
Okay. Crap.
I'm sorry, it's not a save, it's an ability check. My bad.
Still crap.
D20, roll low.
Okay. All right. No. I rolled high. I rolled a 16. I have a 10 dexterity.
All right. So, they attempt to throw you a rope, and as you're concentrating on catching the rope and towing them to safety, you realize too late that you've let your altitude slip to the point where one of these monster waves hits you and takes you right out of the air.
Crap.
Now, since the spell is still effective, you can recover. You can recover next round.
Okay.
But when you come back up and look around, between the rain and the darkness, you've lost track of both boats.
No.
Which direction do you head?
Can I see land?
You can see the big rock, and from there's another rock, and another, and in the distance there's a darkness that might be land.
From what I remember from where I last saw the boats, I'm going to point myself towards the closest rock.
All right.
Not the one the ship's on, but any closer than that. I don't want to get at by scaly fishmen.
Okay. So, heading towards the closest rock that is not the one that the saberfish is currently smashing up against every time a wave hits.
Right.
You find yourself looking about, and you spot one of the two boats. It's difficult to tell which one it is, but there it is in the distance.
Have I got any zoom left?
You do.
Okay, I'm going to spend that on getting out to that boat.
All right. So, your ally, Tam, flies in and lights in your longboat.
You just going for a stroll, just having a nice evening flight while the rest of us are trying not to die and stuff.
Oh, you people are so tedious, I swear. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I got sick of you all and decided to go, for a bit of a zoom, if it suits you.
Right, look who's back.
Hot dog. The hot dog's back.
Someone finally decided to join the team.
None of you know how to play lances, do you?
He's got a lance.
Fine.
Show him your lance.
No.
You,
Show me in a
boy,
bit.
you better smile when you say that.
So,
we keep rolling, rowing.
We're rowing.
all right.
Row,
Keep me lucky with these
row.
fools.
Gently down the stream.
Is this like
You
a
have to
one-person
row
or two-person
hard.
operation?
You can get one on each oar.
All right.
Cool.
So, you row for a couple of hours and spend a lot of the time just trying to stay away from the increasingly frequent rocks. And then, and you're not sure how late in the night it is, The rain finally starts to let up, and you see land in the distance. Not just a rock this time, but something quite a bit larger.
Like Gilligan's Island.
There you go.
All right. It's still stormy. It's still nighttime.
It is still nighttime. The rain has let up to a light drizzle.
I point and go, land ho! That's what they did on the boat and stuff when they saw it.
Right. Well, we just keep rowing.
I'm
Row on
so
over.
wet. This is intolerable.
So
Resisting the urge to just push you back into the water.
we were better off without him. This cask of water will last a lot longer with only two. So
Horrible.
make for the land.
Yes.
Thanks for the land.
All
Yes.
right.
And by the
So-
way, they don't have to ask me like to if I want to spell or get busy. I mean, when one of them is like, I'll tap out. I'm still shitty about it though.
Okay.
You just walk up and like wipe off.
Get off.
As you
Wipe
get
off the part where you're
closer-
holding.
Get off before you fall asleep.
To the shore, you see that there is some rocky sandy beach that comes up from the water line, and then a very, very low cliff, maybe 5 or 6 feet only. And then sitting on the edge of that cliff is what looks like a building, a squat tower, maybe 2 levels high.
Dang it. Is there a fire going on
It's
inside?
completely dark.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll just row right up to the shore. I'll hop off, and I'll drag the boat up onto the sand, and then I'll start climbing up the cliff so I
What?
can get over to the bottom of this tower on the edge of the ocean.
I would like to put all my gear on before I do anything else.
All right, you take time to get your...
My chainmail, my armor and shield and all that stuff together.
I'm helping with dealing with the boat and passing them stuff mainly because I'm just sick of getting rained on
I
and I really want some shelter.
would like to take the plant and fold it up in some protection and put it somewhere close on me, like
Okay,
just so I know I have it.
just so you know you have it.
But not like obviously in a pouch, like shoved in a tunic somewhere.
All right, Rackham manages to find a spot that is not too difficult to get up the small cliff, and looking around.
Yep.
This building
Yeah.
is rectangular. It's about 40 feet by 20,
Yeah.
and the bottom floor is about half again as tall as you would expect it to be. The stonework seems to be precisely laid stone, almost as if it was cut to fit together exactly without mortar.
Right.
There is only one entrance, and that's on the landward side.
Ooh, okay, I guess I've walked around it then.
Yeah.
Is there windows in the upstairs?
Upstairs are windows. The downstairs has absolutely no breaches in the wall with the exception of the door.
Well, I go over to the door,
Good and defensible.
and I pound on the door with the pommel of my sword.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Still got the rope around my waist and coiled around my shoulder. Boom, boom, boom.
The door swings open,
Yeah.
soundlessly.
Oh. I look around inside. And I detect
Soundlessly.
evil. Is there any evil in this room?
No.
All right. Well,
In
I'll run
fact,
back outside and I'll shout down to the guys. Hey, we got ourselves some shelter. Hurry on up. Bring my stuff.
Capital. I start grabbing his stuff.
I go inside.
All right.
I head up.
Inside, you find that this bottom floor is a common area of some sort. There is a kitchen, there is a sleeping area, and there's some spiral stairs heading upward.
Yeah, I just left there for the rest of the crowd to show up before I start exploring any further and taking any more risks.
There's also located right next to the door a pair of brass levers that disappear into the wall.
Alrighty. I won't be. I'm a natural born lever puller, but I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be pulling on them levers. There's a lot of dick jokes today.
There is. I'll make my way inside and just be like, right, why ain't there no one here?
There might be somebody here. There might be somebody. when
Hello?
there might be someone when you pull these. I've already pounded on the door. Now I think now that you're all armored up,
Hello?
why don't you go on upstairs and see what's going on upstairs? What do you say about that?
Right, you're the leader and stuff.
I'm just gonna be. I reach out and grab the edge of the door, the front door,
Yeah.
and I swing it soundlessly to and fro,
Well,
and I say, This is someone's going concern.
Well,
They care enough to oil the hinges.
Well, yeah. Why don't you close it and keep the wind and the rain and the storm out of here? We need some light in here. Any one of you mages have any kind of light spell you might have somewhere?
Do
you can't see in the
can
dark?
you wait for about 8 hours? By the way, I need to set out my...
Silly humans.
Do you have any place dry to sleep?
Human.
Well, we could sleep in here.
Very well. I immediately, and without another word, set about setting up my little study and rest station.
Well, it's completely dark.
I know. Well, not yet.
It's
Hold
really
on.
not that dark. Just look around a little
Just
bit.
you hold your horses. And I rummage around in my possibles bag and pull out this little, like, it looks like a little wooden stick like this that I twist and pull apart, revealing a steel rod facing this way. I get a little bit of tinder from one of my many pouches, stuff it down into the wooden tube, put the metal part in there, the metal rod in there, twist it a little bit and go like that. And then I pull the rod pieces apart and push the now smoldering tinder onto a slightly larger pile of tinder. In short,
I could have just cast fire on that for you.
well, you know, not everything has to be a matter of magic.
Right, I'm heading upstairs.
All right.
All right.
So we got some torches in here.
Carefully.
I'll start going through my stuff, see if everything's there. Is everything there?
Everything is there.
Well, that's the clear. So, all right.
You say the things that you lost in the shipwreck weren't on your character sheet. So, everything is there.
Okay. So
All right.
I still got my jousting lance.
Somehow.
We've been carrying that thing the entire time.
That's fantastic.
It was masquerading as a bowsprit on the boat.
Now, was it a tournament lance or a combat lance? Never
It's
mind.
definitely a combat lance.
All right.
Up the
Upstairs.
You jokester.
You get to the top of the stairs and find the second floor has windows in all directions that are evenly spaced. The windows, however, have covers like the ballista ports on the side of the ship that can be swung into place. All of them are closed except for 2 of them that are facing the ocean. There's nothing in this room except for some sort of large mechanical contrivance in the very center. It looks like it's mounted to swivel, like a catapult on a castle turret.
I'd like to go over and give it a once over to see if I can determine exactly what it is.
Give me an intelligence check, equal to or less than your int.
Ooh, my intelligence is a 12 and I rolled a 12.
Excellent. You actually notice after you're walking around, there's a little bit of light peeking out from a small crack in the device. A steady, warm light. Getting closer to the device, you see that on the large cylindrical contraption mounted to the swivel, that on the front of it, there's a cover. When you move the cover, light spills out. Bright light.
Can I make an intelligence check?
You're not there. It's a
Jeez.
freaking lighthouse.
You're
What
down
else
there
would it
making
be?
sure your workstation is in
No,
perfect working
I
order.
just metagamed. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
We'll make sure that we leave that in there so that other people who are equally as ignorant and stupid as you will find it educational.
Okay.
Your era. By the way, where is Paladin in this?
That is actually in the Complete Paladin's Handbook.
Where's the complete Paladin handbook?
It's not appearing
All right,
at this table.
all right, Aiden.
Right. So it's. Do I know? Have I seen a lighthouse before?
Yes, you have.
This is-
Not quite one
not
like
quite
this.
this.
This one is not using flames and mirrors. This
It's
one
some
is
sort of
using a
magic-
magical
For a
effect.
magical light. Right.
All right, so I'm gonna go out the front door and I'm gonna call for my warhorse.
What? What?
Then while you're
He's
upstairs,
just gonna walk out.
That's right.
The horse is gonna come up.
that's how it works, buddy. Make
usually-
something special, Steve.
It usually takes him a minute.
I
Oh,
will
you-
summon
you're-
my Steve.
Oh, you're casting a spell. Okay. I thought you were just walking out going, oh, yes,
Anyway.
I last had my horse in this land.
It might take him a while to get here, isn't it? There's some kind of delay on it.
There
Like
is a
8
delay.
hours and 12 hours. See what
But hey, I mean, okay.
Might
I
as well
just-
do it while I'm on land.
I just imagine us being gone the next morning, the horse showing up, going like,
No, it shows up wherever you are.
I
Jeez.
sure hope there are horses on this island.
Well, we definitely want to get some jousting in here. Because this game has some jousting rules.
Because what if you wind up with like a giant monitor lizard?
I make my way down
As a
the
mount.
stairs and tell them about the magical light.
Oh, it's a
house.
magical lighthouse? Oh my god,
But
I'm so
it's strange
surprised.
that it's not lit at night.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Right.
All right. Was it made almost entirely of like gears and levers and things?
Yeah.
Brass, lots of brass, lots and lots of brass.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's probably like a Lantanese or, God, even weirder, a Halruan lighthouse. Don't really know how much they go together. I'm not much of a gear guy, but yeah, well, monkey around with it. See what you can do. I'm sure it won't explode.
Well, to be fair, I'm concerned that other ships are going to hit the rocks, so being the lawful good person I am, I guess I'll go up there and rifle around and see if I can't light up the horizon. That way no one else runs into the lights. And that way all the bad guys find us.
How morally praiseworthy of
Like
you.
him.
I accept.
Yes.
I go up there and just open everything and open that thing up and see what happens.
It is absolutely brilliantly bright when you take the thing off and get it pointed out to sea.
All of a sudden, the big old light shines out.
You can see like,
Turn it off! Turn it off! I start yelling up at him.
I think it's a little too
I'm
late.
still outside. I'm still summoning.
it's
my
like
mouth.
the bat symbol. Just
Do I hear him?
yes, you
I
can
turn
hear
it off
him.
because he's in charge and stuff.
I'm lost.
You're gonna call a horde.
You went and filled with it. I didn't think you would, but
The
okay.
joust list. Jousting competition.
All
What kind of
right.
damage does Lance do in this game while you're on a horse?
Or, I imagine.
When I was at
2d12?
when I was at Mage Academy, I
Lance.
was fired from my first student advisor job.
A heavy horse lance
I never got another.
does a
one.
D8 plus 1 against a smaller medium creature, but 3d6 against a large creature.
That's why it pays to be armed with a longsword.
After I get it all lit up and I hear him yell, "Oh, right, sorry, boss!" I just go ahead and close everything up.
All right.
Now that everyone knows we're here.
Well, just the people out at sea.
It was a directional lighthouse.
Perhaps
They might have
our-
seen it bouncing off the clouds back in the house.
Perhaps our erstwhile sailor friends might find their way here.
Well, maybe.
Somebody to watch us while we're asleep, maybe?
Probably not.
Be nice.
It's not in the module.
Speaking of which, it has been kind of a day.
Well, I think I'm going to get some sleep.
Are we gonna take turns watching?
No, I'm just going to fall asleep.
Because
I'm going to lock the door. I'm going to fall asleep.
I'll take the last watch.
Who attacks a lighthouse?
He sounds like a logical man to me. He's led us this far and everything's turned out just great. So I'm gonna take a nap.
I'll wake you in a few hours.
Well, and as an elf, you don't require nearly as much
know.
Yeah,
rest.
you could just kind of hang out, stare at.
I'm
the
gonna
sky.
meditate.
I'm
Can
busy.
you get up on the roof?
Can I get up in the roof?
Is there a way to get up on the roof?
There's a trapdoor, yes.
Ah, that's a good place for a lookout. So, seeing that I only meditate for like 4 hours, I suppose I'll go up there during my watch and make sure that
Okay.
see if I see our friends or if I see anybody else approaching.
So eventually,
Is that fall asleep?
the clouds break, the rain stops, and the sun starts to rise. And from your vantage point on top of the lighthouse, you can see well-manicured fields all around. All of this is coastal farmland. And as the sun starts to come up,
They start coming out.
you see workers arriving to work the fields. But something seems off. As the workers get closer, you start to get an uneasy feeling and realize that the fields are rapidly becoming populated by dozens of undead creatures.
I go inside.
You would almost call them zombies, but they're a little more intact than the average zombie, and they move just a bit less stiffly. Each of them moves to a pre-appointed place, as if they know exactly where they're going, and some of them produce scythes, and some of them are working these strange sets of like irrigation troughs and running water into the fields. They're all going about these large-scale farming tasks.
I ponder to myself why zombies would need food. Because that's where my brain goes.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of them approach the lighthouse?
No.
None? Alright.
They are all studiously going about the work of tending the crops.
So I head back down and kind of wake these two up. And I go, right, so interested in development and stuff. There's a lot of farmhands outside because we're apparently where there's a bunch of farms and stuff, just to let you know. And anywho, also, they're all undead.
What?
Breakfast, anyone?
Can I ask a few questions?
Right.
Undead?
Is anyone
Holy hell.
dying right now?
No, they're all just kind of walking about and doing like things like a normal farmer would do. But
Run to
I'll
the
have
door.
a question for you.
Open the
What
door and look
exactly do undead people eat?
All right.
Look at that.
You open the door and look out.
It's a long
About-
story.
40 yards from the front door, there is a zombie-ish, and it's wielding a scythe back and forth, cutting wheat. Meanwhile, 2 more zombies behind it are gathering and bundling the wheat.
I pop my head out and go, told you so.
They pay you no attention.
My Lord Paladin.
I
My
approach-
Lord Paladin.
Hold on. I walk over. I walk up some at least 60 feet away, and I detect evil on these zombies. Are they evil zombies?
Unexpectedly, you detect no evil from these creatures.
That's freaking weird. All right, I go back inside. I put my armor on, and I'm waiting for my horse. I'm looking around for my horse. Now, what is it that you want, Tam?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't set about butchering all of those undead servants out there.
Well, it'd be hard to do if I didn't get my weapons out.
Oh, well, that's fair. Well, I was going to tell you that, I mean, as abhorrent as I find this, and I do, by the way, the dead belong on the ground, or wherever, but they do this all the time in Thay.
What?
Oh, yes. The Thayans have entire legions of undead slaves.
Yeah, well, they sound like they're evil to me.
Oh, they are. The Thayans are. Oh, they're the worst.
All right.
But I don't know about these people. I don't think we're in Thay, though.
Probably we're in Thay.
I start like kind of rubbing my holy symbol, shining it up, getting ready to cast a bunch of like turn undead spells. Going, you're going to get some work today, pal.
A landlocked mountainous country comprised mostly of tundra? Never
Is that
mind.
what the Thay is?
Yes.
It's a landlocked country comprised mostly of tundra.
Yes, and the undead.
Well, then that wouldn't be this.
No.
This
Right.
is a sea-locked country composed mostly so far of farmland.
Right, you tell them,
That's fair.
So I go up on the roof
All right.
and I look out. Is all I see farmland, or is there little
For as far
wisps
as-
of smoke coming from somewhere?
For as far as you can see, there's farmland, and that's when you spot something that is not a bunch of zombies tending farms. There's a cart out there. It's being driven by a zombie. The horses are undead, but there is a human standing in the back of the cart observing what the zombies are doing. In the distance, you see a number of more carts drawn by undead horses approaching the farming area.
Okay.
Just with humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't seem to know that these just have zombie drivers, no humans. There's
Oh,
only
you're
one
not
human
there.
that you can see.
You're downstairs. I'm upstairs.
What do
listening.
your elf eyes see? Nothing at the moment.
All right, I'll come downstairs and I'll tell them I see. Well, there's a bunch of zombie-drawn horse carts, and they got zombie horses, but people that are in the horse carts are not zombies. So we're gonna go talk to one of them.
Right, you lead the way, boss.
Those are likely their necromancers. You might want to detect evil on them.
Oh yeah.
Or you might want to see how their souls are.
Are you attempting to be stealthy at all?
Right. No, I'm putting my armor on.
Okay.
I get completely armored up. I'll leave my jousting lance in here, and I'll bring my bow and my longsword,
All right.
and I'll bring my arrows. Doesn't say I have any arrows, but whatever.
Yes, you have 20 arrows.
All right, I have 20 arrows.
I put on my driest pair of socks and my boots and go out.
Okay. And how about you, Zebula?
I follow, kind of in the back.
All right.
Just kind of by the way to the lighthouse, just kind of a good like 30 feet away from them, just kind of looking around like, which ones am I going to turn first?
All right. The zombies continue to go about their business. However, the man on the horse cart, when he spots you, he sort of cocks his head to the side for a moment as if you were the last thing he were expecting to see in the farmland. And with a gesture, the horses turn down another path between fields and start drawing his cart in your direction.
All right. Well, I guess eventually we're going to confront each other. So when he comes within 60, how many times do I get to detect evil per day?
I believe detect evil is something a paladin can do
Just
at will.
Whenever.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I remember being like that. It's 2E.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the paladin isn't in the player's manual.
It's in the player's handbook, page 28. Because I was just there.
It is a warrior subclass.
It is a subclass of fighter. Oh, this is the Dungeon Master's Guide. That's why I'm not seeing
I've
it.
got it.
Here, you can hand it to me. I'll look it up.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah,
so
Paladin's in there.
as we're getting closer,
Yes. So he stops his horses, climbs down off of the cart, and comes walking towards you. He is wearing clothing that doesn't look familiar from any of the cultures that you've seen on this voyage or any other. It's very minimalist, but possessed of some like very specific kinds of iconography. He's got this thing around his neck that's made of these square inlaid pieces of stone, and the rest is just sort of a simple robe. He steps up and says something to you in an unfamiliar language. It sounds interrogative.
well, I say, while I'm looking at this book, I say, it says right here that undead are evil, and by the way, I look him right in the eye. It strikes me that you might, in fact, be evil yourself. So I begin to, humana, see if he's kind of testing his aura.
This
Takes me
guy
around.
is actually showing a moral alignment nearly identical to your own.
Ew.
In his own mind, and in the minds of your deities, he seems to be a creature of law and good,
All right.
which is, as you pointed out, completely incongruous.
Yes. It says right here in the book.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'll put the book away. And he's not speaking my language, huh?
Well, he furrows his brow.
I give a polite half bow,
Mm-hmm.
and as is customary amongst Faerunian wizards, I trace the symbol of my sigil, my mage symbol, in the air, and it lingers for a couple of seconds before fading away into the wind.
Show off.
It is, by the way,
Nice.
this. Well, there'd be a little like bursting bomb logo, like on a
Right.
Core Master Sergeant.
Yes, yes.
Because it's his old unit patch.
Ah, I see. I like it.
So yes, it's
The little master guns.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So he furrows his brow for a moment and then waves his hand and says a few words, and then you can understand him.
I was about to do that.
Oh.
But I don't want to waste the spell, so.
He says, "You're not from around here."
Was it that obvious,
Lots
Lord?
of beginning of a joke. I'll know that one.
Was it that obvious, Sir Necromancer?
He says, "I'm not entirely familiar with that particular usage of the term."
Oh, it was plain to me that you have charge over these servants.
He says, "Well, yes, but my Sharanath are not creatures such as that. They perform a function for our society. Is it not so where you come from?"
Fascinating. Well, it depends on the culture. Although the one that I hail from, and the rest of my friends do as well, we tend to keep our help both voluntary and breathing. This is in no way trying to impugn any of your motives, good sir. But the dead have no say.
He says, "That is an interesting way to look at it. I assure you that each of these workers who are fully aware of how they would serve our society after they passed.
Oh,
It is tradition and how we honor our ancestors and how they honor us by providing such things.
well then, as a matter of honor, sir, I will trouble you not at all about it.
He says, my countrymen are at times unfriendly with outsiders. I would advise you to return the way you arrived as quickly as possible. I am not trying to be a poor host. I am simply looking out for your welfare.
Impossible. We were shipwrecked.
Right, I'll share some rocks and some fish things.
As the Lord Paladin said so clearly.
So we'd like to find a boat out of here, out of this creepy hill, creepy dome, Creepyville. We want to get out of Creepyville here, and what we want to do is we want to pay for a boat. Don't you all have some boats that come up here every once in a while? You do have a lighthouse.
He says, I am afraid we do not have any long distance seaworthy vessels such as that. What we
Yeah.
do have, we use for coastal fishing. I may be able to help. There's the sound of more horses in the distance, and you see another group of these zombies, but this group is marching in a formation, in a road column. They have armor and weapons, and they are drawing along with them a sedan chair with a human sitting in it.
Uh-oh.
Here comes the welcome
I'm
wagon.
gonna hide.
Yeah, the gentleman turns back around to you and says, "Take cover."
I've already just bolted.
I polite bow, thank you, and I haul ass back to the lighthouse
All right.
as stealthily as I can.
So you see this group march up to.
Well, now,
Yes.
is this magic spell that this guy cast give me the ability to overhear what they're going to have as a conversation?
He let yes, he cast it in such a way that you
Oh.
three can understand what's being said.
Are these farmlands? Are they large, like cornfields that I can just like walk
Yes.
into the cornfield? a
You
little
can
way?
you can duck into the corner wheat.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to
That's-
like fade into the wheat and I'm going to listen to what they say.
That's what I was hoping to
That's
do.
not a bad idea.
Okay. So this group comes up, and the man in the sedan chair stands up and makes this imperious hand gesture, and with parade ground precision, all of the zombies halt with all their feet hitting the deck at the same time, making a very impressive kind of sound.
I resist the
No,
urge
no
to
mark
yell
time?
At the rear of the column, you see that some more of these creatures, some of them wounded, are carrying wounded or dismembered zombies, and two of the bodies among them look recently deceased, like as in just now, recently deceased. The man stands up and says, "Hail, Guardian Zernef. I'm sorry, Guildsman Zernef. Your the guy you were talking to gives kind of a stiff bow, and he says, Guardian Nennis. It looks like you've had a rough morning." He says, yes, there was a Norman raiding party just up the road from here. We engaged them. We drove them off, barbarians that they are, but we lost a good number of Sharonath, and my brother and Guardian Inzer will be joining the ranks of the Sharonath earlier than they had planned. Too bad you couldn't have been there with us. Your experience would have been invaluable. Perhaps when you learn to obey the Justicars, you will be back among the Guardians. Zernef kind of looks down at the ground for a moment and then looks back up at the younger man and says, perhaps so. He says, I bid you good day. We must be getting back to Alcathay. There are plans to make to wipe the Norman from our lands for good. Enjoy tending your fields, Zernef. And with another hand motion, the zombies are back in march. It takes them a few minutes to get out of earshot and visual range. But after a moment, the gentleman's like, all right, you can come out now. Just try to keep the building between you and them.
I do so. And I say, so he doesn't like you much, did he?
He was a subordinate of mine until I was no longer a guardian.
Oh.
Who are the barbarians he speaks of? Are they alive?
Oh, yes. Well, they're alive until they meet our troops, and then they're driven off or alive no more. To hear my fellow guardians and our queen tell the story, they have no soul, and they have no reason. They simply attack like animals. But such has not been my experience. And when I voiced that concern, I ended up a guildsman here in these fields.
Politics. On the job politics. It's just the worst.
You're not there. You're over at the.
No. When you guys started talking good ideas about hiding in the crops to listen, I
thought you ran over to the.
I'm quick enough to pick up on a good idea when I see it.
Right.
Okay, so you came back with us.
Yes.
So you said that you may be able to help us. How exactly?
He says, once, many centuries ago, my people ruled most of the known world. At that time, we traveled many places, but we did so not using primitive ships. We used gates, and we used vessels suspended in the air. I know where one such vessel can still be found, but my people are too frightened to make use of it. You see, the facility in which it is stored is a place of great illness for us. There was a wasting plague. These barbarians, the Norman, seem immune to it. But the last group of my people sent into one of these areas came out with the plague and spread it to one of our civic centers. And now there are but 4.
Right. Flying ship. I'm in. Let's do it. Guys, we could have a flying ship.
Right, well.
That's a ship that flies.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited about that.
Right.
Well, yeah, I'm a little worried about, if you die here, you get turned into a slave for the rest of your life. But anyway, where is this diseased area you speak of?
He says, far from here by foot. However, I could get you there by gate.
Yeah, right. That sounds okay with me.
The problem is we will have to travel into the civic center of Alcathay.
All right.
And you would stick out like the proverbial sore thumb.
Well, all we need is some clothes, don't we? Or is it everybody know everybody?
Especially
I could walk like a zombie.
you.
Oh, you're the elf.
Oh, it's going to be the ears thing. Here it is. Oh, I was wondering how long it was going to take before it got brought up. Yeah. It's all about, he's an elf. Look at him. He's different.
Well, I'm a deft hand at blowing things up, but I'm not so good at making you look
He
like
says,
what you aren't.
I meant no offense by that. Elf,
We'll just
did
put
you
a
say?
hood on him.
Right, yeah. It's the elf.
We'll just put a hood on him. We'll just put a hood. You could be a leper. We'll wrap you up in rags and shit like that, and people won't be able to tell. All you have to do is show your eyes.
Actually, is it possible? Okay, I'm smart. Here's my intelligence roll. I rolled a 16 and I got a 17 intelligence. What's the over/under on some mud and torn clothing to get the freshly dead look?
You could certainly try. It's inventive.
Yeah, I think if we just wear some robes,
Can I just ride one of your wagons under some stuff?
somebody could just we could just put you in a sack, carry you around in a sack,
We could try that.
and I could just be wearing some robes.
He says, and I believe I know where I can find someone who can show you precisely where this old station is.
All right, well, let's go.
We'll disavow any of your knowledge of this and somebody decides to find us. I don't know. I want to be helpful.
You had best do so. Although if you are found, you will find yourselves in front of the Justicars for some reason or other.
Marvelous.
So, you guys get loaded up in one of the carts,
Yep.
kind of hidden
Right.
amongst the...
Underneath some sheaves of wheat.
As you're traveling, he's sitting next to the
Damn, this is creepy.
zombie, which you have found talking to him are actually referred to as Sarathi.
Yes.
And he's sitting next to the Sarathi driver and speaking kind of over his shoulder so that you can hear him as you travel. And he says, when I was a guardian, we set upon a group of Norman who were chasing one of their own. We captured the one they were chasing. The rest of them fought to the death. As I got to know him while he awaited his day of justice, I started to realize the Norman are not the mindless animals that they are made out to be. This particular Norman was outcast from his own tribe and told me stories of how their tribes have been traveling about destroying the remnants of the Sharanti civilization, the very things that my people are sworn to defend and protect. I believe that if we can free this prisoner, he can lead you directly to the vessel that can take you back to your home. None of my people could approach it for fear of contracting the plague. But if the Norman are immune, perhaps others who were not born here will be as well.
Have there been any efforts between your peoples to seek peace, or has that ever gotten on the table?
He says, we abhor fighting. We generally allow our Sharanath to do the fighting for us. There are only a handful of we guardians, and we command the legions. So we attempted to communicate and to make peace, and each time we did so, the tribes we attempted to deal with would attack with vulgar ferocity. And as best they could, they would bypass the Sharanath and come directly for we guardians.
I mean, you are using undead people.
Well, I was going to say that you touched on a good point. They may find the concept of undeath to be icky. They may also realize that if they want to get rid of the thing that they're getting upset about, it seems, is to go after the people controlling the things that might make them upset.
He says, yes, but these barbarians do not understand, as you do not seem to, that this phase of life is simply the next continuation of the life we are living. If it were not so, would the goddess have given us the ability to create the Sharanath?
I suppose not. And you don't...
About that time I go, sorry, I forgot I was allergic to some of this stuff.
You forgive me for saying so, but you don't seem to be the sort that eats kittens. So...
Oh, meow meows.
Well, no, that's also terrible.
What?
Who eats kittens?
I don't know.
All right, so he's like, be quiet. We're getting close to the civic center. Sneaking kind of a peek towards the city, you see many of the buildings are built very similarly to the lighthouse, where the lower floor is almost fort-like with only a single entrance, while the upper floor has windows, or, the whole city follows the same sort of architecture. And it seems like 1 out of every 2 people wandering the streets are undead.
Wait, are we looking around?
Like if
Or
you're
peeking
taking a
out
look,
of the-
Yeah.
peeking out, from the cart.
I whisper and I go, why are all your buildings so defensible?
I know why. Just in case they lose control.
Zernef kind of sniffs and goes, "Such a thing has never happened."
But why are your buildings so defensible then?
He says, "At one time, we were a large empire with many enemies. It made sense for our buildings to be defensible."
Presume my assumption. Again, I'm used to people who employ the undead as a societal feature to be the sort that do eat kittens. And then animate the kitten skeletons for fun.
He says, "Now, very carefully, I am going to turn the cart down a side street. See if you can sneak a peek off to our right and catch a glimpse of the gate. That is where you will be going."
My Lord Paladin?
So the cart starts to turn.
Yeah.
You guys see this huge U-shaped arc that is a good 80 feet wide.
That's
It's
the
got
gate.
this scintillating curtain of magical energy. There are guards and guardians standing on either side of the gate.
Wait, you say there's guards and guardians? What exactly?
There's
Right, like
there's
the
undead.
undead with living officers.
All right. How many? 4?
It looks like there's a pair of living officers on either edge of the gate,
Yeah.
and maybe a dozen of these Karanti zombies on each side.
All right. So there's nobody. Like if you
But-
were to move really fast, you could fly right in
Oh,
there. and
hell
they couldn't
yes, you
stop
could. Because there's a lot of traffic, and it seems like the reason it's so wide is the gate can operate in both directions at once.
All right.
On the left side, things are entering the gate. On the right side, things are coming out.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
what's coming out of the gate on the
Many more horse-drawn carts, some with live horses, some with undead ones.
All right.
It looks like this is the main way that these people trade between their cities.
Right. Okay.
So can you just drive us through there then?
He says
Well, we want to bring this guy with us because he knows where the diseased place
he's
is.
here.
it's going to
and
be
he
a little
can
more.
endure the disease once we get there.
It's going to be a little more difficult than that. You see, the gates work best when there's one on either end. To send you where I need to send you, I'm going to have to distract one of the guardians and change the glyphs on the gate.
Ooh.
Oh,
What if you had something really distracting happen?
Such as?
he
Oh,
wants
no
to
one
blow
would be
something
hurt.
up.
But I was, well, I was getting to that. I was thinking fairly high altitude fireball.
He says, I'm not certain I'm familiar with that spell.
You create a large, low-pressure blast of flame in a sphere that conforms generally to indoor surfaces, so it's a great spell for a long corridor, as long as you're not in a corridor. However, it makes a fantastic firework, so to speak.
He says, that might do the trick.
There's no fragmentation, nothing that's going to hit anyone if it's far enough up. It'll just be a great big noise and a whole lot of fire for about half a second.
He says, have you an inscription of this spell? I would love to learn it.
I will see what I can do. Perhaps once things are a bit less exciting.
He strokes the stubble on his chin and says, in fact, should I bring such a spell, of which we have no knowledge, back to one of the academies, that might be enough to have me reinstated to my former status.
Ooh, is there a way that we can table this for about 3 days?
He says, 3 days?
No.
I doubt we can conceal you for 3 days.
I would need a similar amount of time in order to inscribe the spell. It's a lot more involved than just impressing the arcane glyphs upon my consciousness.
So, as you're having this whispered conversation,
Yeah.
and you're heading towards what's obviously their jail, yes.
All right.
No, that person's in jail. I was like, is he taking us to jail? What we do?
He's okay. What you got to do is you got to get inside this room here. It's all dark, I know, but don't worry. And then we're gonna then you'll be ready. We'll get the guy out. Okay, and he closes the door, and then we'll fucking.
And then he gets his promotion.
Yeah, and he gets his promotion. Well, I caught the outsiders. I caught the outsiders.
Well, there is that. But you said it yourself. You didn't smell any self-interest on him.
No, I'm not getting any bad vibes from these folks. No negative vibes, Moriarty.
That's really weird.
Interesting.
Really strange. Anything that's like, oh, it's undead. It's usually, they get the flail on the side of the head and stuff.
So, across the street, from their detention building. You hear the ringing of hammers, and you can see that there are a bunch of these Sarathi working forges and making things. And they've got some of them are weapons. They've got one or two human overseers who are dressed in similar outfits to Zernef, but with different little decorations on them. But like for every one overseer, there's a good dozen of these guys, working bellows tirelessly or swinging hammers over and over without resting.
5 coppers says that most of what they're cranking out right now are S-shaped hooks, skewers, hinges, and nails. Just like ordinary things, quotidian things.
Okay, I'll bet you 5 coppers. I bet you they're breaking out with non-quotidian things like daggers and arrowheads and spearheads.
That's fair.
All
right. So Zernef says, let me handle this next part. Stay low and don't get seen. And then he climbs off the wagon and walks over towards the Guardian who's controlling all of the undead around this building. He starts to have a quiet conversation with him as you see a number of these Sarathi taking their wares to market, and they are doing so by each holding a small device out in front of them in a hand, and beneath the device is a scintillating disc of pure energy with all of the things stacked on the energy. And these zombies are just walking down the street with these giant energy discs full of wares in front of them.
I can do that. I could do that right now.
So, the Guardian at the door seems to be smiling and having a friendly conversation with Zernef, and he steps aside and Zernef takes a step into the building, and then you hear a familiar voice call out Zernef's name. It's the young officer
that we saw out in the field.
That you saw out in the fields. And he jumps down off of his undead carried sedan chair and says, "Tradesman Zernef, what are you doing here? This is an area for the Guardians and Justicars. You are no longer allowed access. Have you forgotten how to render honors to your betters?" And you see Zernef kind of execute a subservient sort of bow and realize that you've seen that sort of thing from a lot of the townsfolk here and there, but it just didn't seem as obvious until attention was called to it. He says, "I am here to speak to the prisoner." He says, "The prisoner is what got you into the mess you're in now. You don't need to see him. He'll be going before the Justicars tomorrow morning."
Well, I guess we're going to start planning a jailbreak for tonight.
You said it.
Zernef nods and says, "You are right. My presence here is no longer appropriate. My apologies for breaking tradition. Guardian Nennis." He bows again and walks back towards the cart with a sour look on his face. He then waves the horses into motion, and you head down the street. Still looking ahead, he says, "Now we must think of something else."
Well, we're just going to break him out of jail tonight.
Or in the morning. I don't mind getting a full night's sleep.
Well, he's supposed to be going before the Justicar this morning.
Oh, sure.
So what this morning is rather ambiguous. I guess either they start up at 6 a.m. or they start up at 7 a.m. or they start up at 8 a.m. or they start up at 9 a.m. And I don't know when you wake up. Maybe you wake up at 6 a.m. Maybe you wake up at 7 a.m. Maybe you wake up at 8 a.m.
I'll wake up.
But I have a feeling that while it's dark outside, we're going to have an easier time breaking somebody out of jail anyway. especially when there isn't a lot of hustle and bustle of the morning enthusiasm. Of course, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people here
Well,
with a lot of
also,
enthusiasm on their looks. of their
undead
faces.
people don't sleep, I imagine.
My Lord Paladin, I await your plan.
All right.
So, Zernef tells you, there are, as with many of our buildings, minimal ways in and out. The Incarcery has the one main entrance, which you've already seen, but there is a second entrance around the back.
Or the roof.
You are correct. There is access on the roof.
That's right.
The roof is a guaranteed option.
The
For
back
us, anyway.
sounds like you're politicking for the back. What's the defensive capabilities of the back of the Incarcery?
He says there are generally less Charanath back there because it faces towards the Hall of the Justicars, and that has plenty of protection. No one thinks that someone would be foolish enough to attempt to break into the Incarcery.
Tradesman Zernef. My question is, do you know if they move the prisoners around in cells? Or do they just stay locked up in one particular room for a while?
He says, seeing as we don't have all that many prisoners, no, they don't generally get moved around. And this particular Norman, they're going to leave him where he is. None of them want to deal with him.
Where is he?
He is 3 cells inside the Incarcery, not too far from the guard room.
All right. Which floor?
And he says, the bottom floor. The upper works are quarters for guardians.
Oh.
Well, we don't want to be thumping around on the roof.
Right, bottom floor is. Can you control the other undeads, or just yours?
He says, we are each assigned a group of Charanath that are our charge and responsibility. I can attempt to control those that are not my charge, but it is not a sure thing.
Is there anything that I can do to help?
Well, what I'm expecting you to do is cast one of them there spells that we can get in and out of the doorway. You sneak in there invisibly, and then you find the key, and then you open the prison cell. You lead the guy out.
Right, we'll be out here.
Well, you can cast one of us invisible, and then we'll just be on our way. Of course, we got to do it with enough time that if we get the guy out of there like an hour before he's supposed to appear before the Justicars, we're going to have a lot of shit coming down on our heads.
Well, I imagine we get him out and just go straight to the gate.
That's right.
I have no doubt, my Lord Paladin, call the hour. I mean, when it's a good time.
12 midnight.
Very well. Also, take this kindly, please. But neither of you is going to be quiet enough or going to have the abilities to do what needs to be done inside. So, yes, I accept. I'll go inside for you.
All right.
And Zernef says, and I can help with the key.
Marvelous.
He reaches up under the seat and rummages through something and comes out with a little block of stone that's been brightly polished. And it has an inscription that could be a key if keys were made slightly differently in some other country. He hands it to you and says, you'll know what to do with it when the time comes.
So is this...
or you won't and you'll die.
Is this Norman? Is he dressed or does he look differently? I mean, who do they keep in the cells?
The cells are for those Charantai that have broken our code in some way. And since such things do not happen often, the cells are often unused.
So you've got undead in jail?
No. You mistake me. The Sharonath are those that are past this life. The Charanti are my people.
All right. Okay.
He says, but the Norman, he will not pass for one of us. He is much too tall and possessed of quite too much hair.
All right, so he's easy to tell which one he is.
Understood.
Well, he can make himself not sane.
Is there any way for this particular key to be traced back to you?
He says, no, No, these little tools are produced en masse for the Guardians.
Marvelous. I mean, it would not be a good turn to get you in trouble for all you have done for us.
He says, if things work out as I hope, no one will ever know I helped you.
Good. And if things don't go well, and you find yourself with the opportunity to get out without anybody knowing, take it.
All right, so after you get the Norman out of the jail, you are going to bring him over to a place where then we shall then stage our transition through the gate. Now, is the gate guarded at night in a similar way that it's guarded during the day?
He says, it is guarded in a somewhat more lax manner. You see, none of the Guardians wish to stand watch all night, so they leave a few Sharanath there without supervision and go to bed.
All right.
Marvelous.
Should be easy then.
What's the civil penalty for hacking up one of your... Sorry, that's terrible. I don't know how to say it. Harming one of your people who have moved on to their next stage of life?
He says, it is difficult for me to express our views as I do not know where to start. I am not sure where our ideas of life and death first part ways, but I will put it this way. Each of them was one of us at some time, and we owe them gratitude for their service.
Oh.
But they are not who they were.
Got it. Well, we have no intention of going about wrecking your distant relatives willy-nilly like farm equipment. But we just want to know what our operational parameters are.
Please attempt not to destroy any of our Sarathi. But if you must, in order to escape, it would be a replaceable loss.
Very well. Thank you. My Lord Paladin?
Oh, I got one. Never mind. Yes?
Shall we prepare for the jailbreak?
Yes. I have... let me look through this here book here.
Enter jailbreak sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was a 5th level cleric,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to cast a 2nd level... I wanted to cast a 3rd level spell, what sort of 3rd level spells do I have available to me?
Quite a few. Remember that clerics have access to the full...
Animate Dead,
Mm-hmm.
Feign Death, Meld into Stone,
I think I've got a list here, actually, if you want to make it easier.
Speak with the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What are you looking for?
I was looking for Control Undead. I believe that's 5th.
I do not have it on my list.
But do you have a Speak with Dead?
I may be able
Now,
to address the issue at extremity.
Clerics of opposite alignment can control undead in the same way they turn undead.
Right.
It could be worth a try.
Also, if that fails, I can channel will and art into holding the undead in place.
That's right. You've got an Hold Undead spell.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely use it. I guess I'd better start.
Do you have
memorizing
Wraith form?
them. I do not.
It's a pretty cool spell. All right. Well, I think we're. Otherwise, I can't cast any spell. I'm on 5th level.
You could cast Wraith form and fly and be Wraith awaiting launch orders.
How very dare you? Well, also, I think Wraith form is Wraith form necromancy, or is it enchantment charm? Because if it's the former, I can use it, but if it's the latter, it's a no-no.
Wraith form, I bet you, is transmutation.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Or what they call alteration in this game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Well, I can.
Let me see. I'm looking it up right now.
I can use alteration. Handy the things you learn in wizard school. I don't know. I don't know if I was apprenticed or if I. Okay, I already said before that I was at Wizard Academy, and such things are not unheard of in the North.
Yes.
In the northern Sword Coast, or the North in general.
Alteration and illusion.
Nice. All right.
So it is transmutation.
I just can't I can't talk anyone magically out of their last coin.
Water walk. You got a water walk spell there.
Well, I mean, it's
Mr. Priest.
some wizards may be able to use that, but my
Mr.
spellbook is a
Elven
bit
Priest.
more parsimonious.
Remove curse. No, I don't think that. Negative plane protection. No.
I think Eddie Money wanted a walk on water spell.
All right, I don't think I'm going to be flying in anywhere, so I'm going to.
Fly might be useful.
Crap.
You can cast it on us, can't you?
I can cast it on one of you.
You can't cast it on all three of us?
No.
One
One
fly,
subject.
one fly?
Just one person.
Well, yeah, if you had 3 fly spells, you can cast it on 3 of us.
Pretty fly for an elf
I
guy.
can only do it twice, and that's if I forego anything else at that
Right.
level of power.
Right.
What about fireball?
I also have firewall.
I mean,
We're talking about distractions.
Fireball.
fireball
Well,
is.
hold undead seems a little more useful here.
I was going to say that I could forego both fireball and fly, and in its place, be able to crank out 2 hold undeads.
And I can create a firewall, so I can create
I
something
think we
before
only need.
distract him.
I think we only need 1 hold undead.
Especially because
All right.
I can attempt to control the undead as well.
Do you have? Oh yeah, you can try to charm them. Yeah, that's right.
If I
Wait,
charm-
if we could do that, then I don't think you need hold undead. You don't need hold undead because we can try to turn them, and if they're lawful good undead, then we can control them.
we can control them.
All right.
So you can go ahead and.
Maybe.
What about my steed? Is
Let
my
me see what
steed
Lance of
showing up?
Disruption does.
You
It's
know-
an undead horse. Congratulations.
Non-detection might be good. I don't know. Depends on how effective the GM is at using high-level spells. A lot of times, you know, the 18th level mage that they're running don't have a scry ability. So,
It appears that Lance of Disruption, a 3rd level spell which I have in my spell list, is not one which is present in this particular book, in the player's handbook.
It's in Tome of Magic, and it is like the Mace of Disruption. It does things to undead.
Oh. All right, well then, I guess I will go for, like, I don't know if it's a persistent spell or if it's one that you
It's
gotta,
a-
like, line them right off and, okay. All right, then I guess what I'm going to do then is I'm going to memorize Fly and Lance of Disruption.
Okay.
The last thing I want to do, we're already, violating their social norms, and I respect, I understand if I don't understand, but I don't want to screw with them any more than we have to. Do you need me to be invisible? Yes.
yes.
Uh,
You might
Alright.
memorize that twice.
okay, then should I sacrifice Knock or Web?
Knock. No, web. Sacrifice web.
Okay. All right, then you guys are going to have to hold off Pursuers if it comes to that.
That's right. That's what we're going to do.
All right. So Knock times 2.
So you guys have your plan ready?
I believe so. We're going to have the wizard do all the fun stuff. It's going to be the wizard's rock and roll show.
Well, you can join in, of course, at any time.
I'd be stomping around in my plate, man. Clang, clang, clang. Hey, we're here to break the prisoner out of jail.
That's fair.
I don't think it's fair at all.
You could also cause one
We do have silence there. I mean, I'm sure the elf can cast a silence spell.
that, or you
And the
can
elf is rather silent himself. Maybe you should cast invisibility on the elf.
don't cast it on me because otherwise I won't be able to say those charming things that make all the pretty
Right.
things happen. Hold on. Knock invisibility. I'll need. Tensor's floating disc, possibly if he's hurt. But I'm
I
gonna.
can carry him.
But I'm gonna forego the magic missiles.
I'll
all of
drag
them.
him. I'll drag him with my rope, which I still haven't untied from my waist.
And I'm going to take cantrip times 3, shield times 1, and Tensor's floating disc times 1.
What do you
Okay.
need a shield for?
To keep my pretty flesh from being split at the mercy of enemy blades.
I'm gonna protect you.
Thank you, Lord Paladin.
In fact, I'll probably die protecting you. But
Lord Paladin, so
instead
nice.
of shield, there might be some other kind of.
All right, well, I can cast a persistent alarm. I can create a burst of flame, not from my hands.
Pyrotechnics. but I
That
believe
burning
second
hands,
line,
that's alteration, that's child's play. I also can create Tensor's floating disc.
yeah, I don't
And
think
of
you-
course the
I
ever
don't
present.
think you need Tensor's floating disc because I can carry that guy out of there.
Alright then.
You know what is damn useful though in this situation?
What's that?
Unseen Servant.
I don't
You
have
go-
it.
Oh, I see.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You don't have Wall of Fog?
I don't. All I have are the spells that I
Sleep.
have. Nope. These are the first level spells I have.
Okay.
Alarm, Cantrip, Fire Burst, Magic Missile, Shield, Tensor's floating disc.
All right.
Mostly there for wrecking things.
Yeah.
Or hauling treasure.
Right.
Or not getting ambushed. So I figure 3 for cantrips, because you never know what you'll find. They're handy. No magic missiles, because I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm not going to do it. So, yeah, Tensor's floating disc, shield, 3 cantrips.
So you're gonna sneak in,
Yes.
get him out.
Yes.
We're gonna wait outside with the wagon, I guess, and then once we get near the gate, we'll make some sort of distraction and then just haul ass to it.
As an elf, aren't you a bit quiet on your feet?
So you know the skinny guys that work in IT? I mean, there are the skinny guys, right?
Yeah,
Notably
right.
skinny guys. The
Yeah.
skinny guys that work IT.
Yeah.
Well, I push back my arms. You talk about carrying the guy, and I silently push back the sleeves of my voluminous robes and flex my non-existent muscle.
Well, what I'm saying is, the guy is probably going to be willing to get out of there.
I imagine.
If
so.
he's not savagely beaten or hurt or otherwise unable to whatever.
They got to drag him into court the next morning.
Well, they may have to, but they have the undead to do that. I'm not a. I don't lift things.
Well, whatever. Tensor's floating disc. Okay.
All right, I lift vignettes occasionally.
And I'm not. I'm wearing
Beer,
full
I
chain
like
now,
lifting
and I
beer.
don't have a dexterity, nor do I actually have a sneak ability. So no.
All right.
I'm one of those rare, not sneaky elves.
And besides,
Okay.
you've never had a ride until you've given yourself a ride with your own floating disc.
Yep.
Right. Good luck then.
Thanks.
If you die, it was nice knowing you.
Likewise.
And I look forward to seeing you work in the fields. Because that's what happens here. So,
How could you?
I'll visit you.
All right. Looks like our plan's going to take
Okay.
some fruition here.
5d4 damage
Me?
on the Lance of Disruption.
Oh, thank goodness. 5d4. Thank you.
I had to look it up. All right.
So, we stay hidden in the wagon, kind of
Okay.
close to the back of the jail, so they can just run out and jump in.
That's right.
And
All
we
right.
send our stealthy type human person in. Hope
Oh.
you don't die.
You're up.
Me too.
Prepare to die or it's scum.
All right. I managed to produce somehow another relatively fresh lemon, despite all it's been through.
It's really impressive.
And I fade from
All
view.
right. How very Stonewall Jackson of you.
It's much better in tea. I put you see the little floating squeezed lemon bit vanish. All right, I make my way towards the back of the jailhouse,
All right.
moving as quietly as I can. There's nothing jingly on me. I'm no thief, but
All right.
I stole cookies from the dining hall while my professors were busy dozing. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That qualifies me.
All right. Call odd or even.
Odd.
Okay. So, you manage to approach the rear of the jail. While the guardian, who is assigned to the Sharanath that are there, decides there is nothing happening and he hasn't had anything to eat for quite some time, and he starts to wander off. As you approach, the Sharanath give no sign that they notice you're there. They're simply standing with pikes or spears on either side of the door, and then there's 2 more of them outside of that, all just looking straight forward, doing their guard thing.
All right. I spare a moment to quickly look around the edges of the door to see if there are any glyphs or wards.
Ooh. You take a look and don't see anything but unusually smooth door frame.
All right. Okay, so I go ahead and open the damn door. Quietly, slowly. And I see what the zombies do. Or the Sharanath.
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying to be respectful.
When in Rome, so the door opens. The door opens at a light touch. It doesn't look like they're expecting anyone to just walk in.
All right.
Just like the doors of the lighthouse, there's no sound, no creaking, and it just seems like this big stone door moves with an incredibly low amount of force as it swings open.
If this were a David Lynch film like Dune, there would be me voiceovering saying, "Wizard forged," as I silently and not saying it because it's a David Lynch thing.
Yes.
Make my way towards if I can see where the stairs are. If there's, what do I see?
All right, from here, what you see is a stone corridor going ahead about 20 feet and then opening up into a much wider corridor that branches off to either side. The walls are decorated with glyphs, like old looking like pictogram kind of artwork that seems to show members of this guardian order. You recognize the clothing. It hasn't changed since these were carved. And you get the impression from all of these panels that seem to tell a story like a wordless comic book. These people put a great deal of thought into their concept of justice. As you're walking down the hallway, you can see that these are mostly parables about, you know, sort of like the old stories about the wisdom of Solomon and how to reach a just and fair decision in all things.
Wow.
When you reach the wider corridor, you see that they've got barred doors that are secured in the same way as these external doors.
That is to say, no security at all.
Well, as in they fit perfectly within the door frames and don't appear to be made of any different material. The doors themselves are carved in stone.
In this room, is there anybody else?
There are no other humans. There are a couple of Sharanath that are patrolling up and down the halls soundlessly.
At choke points, like where the corridor branches out into a larger room, or any doors that are like there, do I, and again, I'm not trying to spend a lot of time on this because I know I've got like one shot, right? But I'm looking for like lines of salt or chalk or dried blood or whatever.
Oh, very interesting.
I'm looking for magical traps.
You don't see anything like that here.
Okay.
To your left, there's a spiral staircase leading up to the second floor. To the right is just door after door in what looks like a cell block. But it doesn't sound like there's any prisoners.
Recalling his directions, 3 cells down.
Yes.
I'm going to make my way towards that cell block thing. That cell block direction.
So you duck down the hallway, count 1, 2, 3 cells down.
Yep.
On the opposite side of the hallway, since that's the side facing the other street.
Right.
And sure enough, there's a very, very raggedy looking individual seated on the cold stone floor of the cell. He's got what looks like an eating utensil in his hand, and he has been scratching things into the wall. His beard is long, his hair is haggard. He still has something like a loincloth kind of thing on, but anything else he may have had looks like it's been taken from him.
The door itself, is it like locked like a prison door?
You try to push the door,
Right.
It doesn't move.
All right. Invisibility just it craps out when you attack. Understood. All right. To that end, I'm going to pull out another tiny vial from my working coat, and it's just simple mineral oil, the sort of thing that you'd grease hinges with, that sort of thing. And I break it open a little bit, put some on my knuckles, smear it in real good, put the vial back, and then lightly knock knock.
Knock spell.
Knock knock, knock knock, and see when the door opens.
There is kind of a click sound.
Right.
The door seems to drop about a quarter inch, and then it swings outward towards you.
Right.
The guy looks up.
Shut up. Shut up and remain still. I'm trying to bust you out.
He says, "Who are you?"
I'm a friend. You can call me Tam, but we don't have any time for that. I gotta get you out now.
He gets up on his haunches, and he's looking around.
I'm in the cell with you. I'm invisible. I'm a wizard. The sooner that you just roll with me, the faster and more easily you'll get out of here.
He jumps backward into a corner and is looking around wild-eyed and says, "I'm not going anywhere with a wizard."
Oh, God. Your tedious superstition is wearing me out already. Look, you're probably going to die and get turned into a whatever they turn those things into tomorrow. I'm not from here. I don't care what your problem is. What I need you to do is I need you to shut up and do what I say. All right?
He narrows his eyes, looks around his cell,
Oh, Timora, give me strength.
and then he says, "Trafficking with a wizard is not as bad as what these people will do."
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of with you on that. Now,
Coming with you.
all right, great. How good are you at sneaking? Past these things.
He says, "Why would we do that?"
I have a plan. It requires you to shut up and do exactly as I say. All right?
He's looking around for you, and he says, "I may be an outcast, but I still have honor. I will not leave these things in my wake."
Yeah, you will. Otherwise, you're not getting out. How many times do I... Oh, you. Sorry. Look, we need your help. That's why we're getting you out. All right? I mean, I don't know you, but everybody deserves to have the truth told to them.
He says, these people are not about truth.
Well, fantastic. Here's your chariot. And I turn around, and this time, a nice thing about it is it's just verbal and somatic. So I just spin my hands around wider and wider and wider until I polish a plane of the air itself into a shimmering floating disc.
He's not gonna get on that.
He's staring.
Get
And
on
he's
the-
like, "That's the same kind of sorcery these..."
Shut up! Get on the damn disc.
I can walk.
Great. You get us all killed, and that's it.
He says, "You want me to climb on a serving platter?"
Oh my God, no. What I want you to do is to get on this, lay flat, be quiet, and I'm going to move you along the ceiling where those things can't see either of us, and we're going to float you out that way. Look, they don't have any brains. They're not smart. They're not going to look up.
This is madness.
Of course it is. Why do you think I'm here? Oh, wait.
What?
He says, "You're not here. You're speaking to me from the air."
Yeah. But if I break the spell and become visible, then they're going to eat me. Or whatever they do to people like me, all right? I'm too pretty for this. I mean, when you see me.
Are you a female?
Yes, absolutely. And I have tits down to my belly button, all right? If you come with me, I'll give it up. I'll do it any way you want. Please, just get on the damn disc.
If it gets me out of here.
It'll get you some, too.
He jumps up on the disc and is kind of crouched there.
Lay flat. Lay flat on your belly or your back, I don't care which. And once you're there, stay put.
He flops down on his belly and he says, "I will see my enemy."
Great, we'll do it quietly. At that point, I motion I motion him out into the hallway and close to the ceiling like he's right
Okay.
there, right? And I just sort of sneak my way back out.
All right. You pass right by one of the Sharonath on patrol. It doesn't seem to notice you. And then there's a sickening thud as he reaches down and cracks the thing's head against the wall.
I like him.
All right.
It gives out this and pitches forward.
What do the other zombies do?
They all turn and look.